What brought you to Manistee?
So I have an interesting story behind that. I kept seeing Manistee pop up in my searches. Like I was wondering where I was going to go, because my original plan was I was going to get in an RV and travel the U.S. and just do sessions for people, because my youngest graduated last year. So for 2 years I was prepping myself, to go on the road. And then something happened. A year before she graduated, I started seeing Manistee pop up everywhere on the internet, and I was like, I feel like it's a calling, right? Like something's calling me there. But I ignored it. And then I started dating someone in the area that lived in free soil, and I didn't know where Manistee was in relation to free soil at all. So we're dating for a little bit. It didn't last long, but I remember we went and looked over a bluff, and I was like, I just felt so much energy. Usually my confirmation from spirit is chills all up and down my body. And I was like, I don't know if it's Lake Michigan or if I'm supposed to be here. What is this place? I was like, what town is this? And he said, it's Manistee. I'm even covered in chills now as I tell you this. And then I was like, holy shit, right? Can I say shit on here?
You can say whatever you want on here.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. We don't know what's going to fly out. But so I was like, wow, this is beautiful, right? And I'm like, what a cool place. So fast forward 2 months. This is the first time I go hang out with this person. 2 months later, we are going ice fishing. We go ice fishing out on Lake Manistee, and we pull up to this little place. It's this little neighborhood, and we're going into these little bar hopping places, having a couple beers after ice fishing. And we get out, and I just hear a voice, an audible voice. It always sounds like it's in my head, and it says, "You're going to live here next year in this neighborhood." And I looked around and I was like, what the hell? The neighborhood was cute, right? It reminded me of a Christmas story.
Yeah.
And we went in, and I ignored it. A year later, I was looking for houses in my hometown, which is in the east side in Algonac, Michigan. And everything was falling through. I wasn't getting anywhere, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to follow the call, right? I'm just going to check Manistee. Boom, a house waited for me for 3 months. I tried to walk away from it twice, and it is 1 block from the place where I was in that neighborhood, which is Stu's. That's where I was that night, and now...
Shout out to Stu's.
Shout out to Stu's. So so now I'll go over to Stu's and hang out, but it's so weird that I got out of that truck and just heard a voice saying, you'll live here next year, and I'm 1 block away.
So why don't we tell everybody who you are and what you do, because that story kind of brought up some keywords there that, there's a voice in your head.
Right.
There's things working that
and it's not schizophrenia.
Notice. What's that?
It's not schizophrenia that I know of.
I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm just kidding.
So I'm a evidential psychic medium and a trance energy healer. So what that means, an evidential medium means I give you confirmation, evidence, right? It's evidence-based mediumship, which means it's something you can validate. If you can't validate what I say, I tell you just to hold on to it, because a lot of times it'll come up later, like a photo or a memory.
This episode is brought to you by Chapo's Northside Bar, voted best burger and wings in town. Yeah, you heard that right. If you're going to go out for a burger or wings or both, you might as well go to the place that's voted the best. The best. Why wouldn't you have anything less? Look, and if you're not down for a burger or wings, that's cool. They've got salads, wraps, and sandwiches also. And this summer, it's going to get wild, because on June 24th, it kicks off their summer concert series in the parking lot. Live music, folks. And guess what? It's free. Yeah. Come down for the music, stay for the fun, enjoy the best burger and wings in town. Chapo's Northside Bar.
Or someone you're not recognizing that's coming through for you. So I help people get in touch with their departed past loved ones, and I really use my sessions for, it's not all your grandma's here, she wore an alligator brooch and she makes apple pie on Sundays. Mine are deep healing sessions. So I help people grieve, I help them move on, I help them better their lives. So a lot of times when people come to me for a mediumship session, they end up seeing me for years and they transform their lives, because we work through spirit and help them improve their lives with ways to stay balanced and centered. And
okay. So what?
That's a lot. That was a lot.
That's okay. We got a lot of time. What exactly is a medium?
So a medium. So I have psychic senses. They're called.
We're going to talk about those.
Yeah,
but
clairs.
Tell us what.
So I feel. My strongest one is I feel. I can feel when spirit's around. Someone who's passed. I can feel when someone's around. I can see them in my third eye, which is kind of in my mind. Which I'll kind of give you an example of that. How to do that. We can do that real quick. So stare at your cup for a minute. Just look at it for a minute. Notice the cup sitting there, right? You see it?
Yep.
Close your eyes. Do you still see the cup? Can you imagine what the cup looks like?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how I see things when messages come through. Eventually you learn to hone them, where when things pop in, you're in a stream. It's called a stream of consciousness, that you're like bringing through this energy, a streaming flow of energy, and you're just kind of like, the way I do it anyway is I just spit it out. Like, whatever, I trust what comes to me, and I spit it out, and it's pretty damn accurate. I've never had a bad session. I've been doing hundreds and hundreds of them over the last 8 years. So I just feel, I get into a session, clear my mind. I don't like to know anything up front. I don't want to know who you want to hear from. I don't want to know anything about you. A lot of times I do reads with my candles, because I also do candles, and I just have this person's, they put an order in, and some of them give a fake name. And I just go into a trance. Stuff starts coming to me, and I type up a full page read for them and send it to them. I have no idea who these people are. Some people buy them for gifts. So I just sit there, clear my mind, allow whatever's coming to me to come through, sight, my third eye, or a sensation of feeling. They'll sometimes impart on me an illness they had. My chest will feel heavy. I do live reads on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST on my business page, and a lot of times I'll be like, my chest feels heavy. Or did they die of a heart attack? And things like that. I'll feel how they felt. I'll see images. I'll hear words. Sometimes it's just a knowing. Sometimes just things come to me and I just know it's true, and I'll say something.
How did you figure this out? At what point in your life were you like, well, I can sense this stuff?
Well, what's interesting about it is I've always been able to communicate with spirit since I was a kid. I remember being young and my grandma sitting on the edge of my bed all the time, and
that didn't freak you out?
I had never met her. I actually was thinking she was like my mom,
saying,
right? So that one never did. Other things, like other past loved ones coming to me, did freak me out big time for years. And I thought every house I lived in was haunted, but I was the one that was haunted, right? What
are they doing?
Hear noises. I hear words in my ear. I would fall asleep and feel breathing against my neck, while I'm trying to go to sleep, right? And I am a horror fan, so I've always watched horror movies, and I've always related it to ghosts or creepers, right? I would always be so scared. I actually lived in a house in New Baltimore, Michigan, where I woke up with a handprint on me. It was a full handprint. I actually still have the photo today, but it happened in 2012. But that was right before I opened up my mediumship. So I always had this, right? And I actually thought everyone could feel spirit. I didn't know that it was weird, right? When I was young. And then I kind of shut it down because I was afraid of it. I kept getting messages, but trying to stuff it down because I was afraid. I thought my houses were haunted. And then I joined the spiritual group on Facebook, and I just was drawn to meditation. And I'm like, I used to work in IT, software development. It's a stressful job. I was a manager for years. And I thought, if anything, it'll help me with my anxiety, my stress from work. So I started meditating. And the first time I started meditating, it was everything exploded for me. And I audibly heard voices saying, start sessions. And I was like, no way, I can't, right? And then I remember the first session I did, I meditated for 40 minutes. I just put up a website, because I always follow the call of spirit. I put up a website and put sessions on there for a low price. And a woman was my first client. I had never done it before, a full session. I remember just hyping myself up, doing meditation for 40 minutes, dancing my ass off. And then pretending I was flipping on a switch in my own mind that helped me turn it on, right? And then I got on the phone and gave this lady an hour of messages from her mom, and I remember hanging up the phone being like, holy fuck, what? Is that me? Who is this? Lorrie, is that you? And then it was just boom, went on from there.
So when you're interacting with these spirits, ghosts or whatever,
right,
are they hanging out with you? If you were doing something right now, would they be sitting here?
Yeah, I feel a man with you here right now.
Get out of here.
Yeah, there's a man here right now, and he feels like he looks like you. I don't know if you look like a grandfather or something. There's some kind of resemblance in your family that's particular.
Not on the couch.
A lot of times, eyes, I feel like in your family. Eyes are a big thing in your family. But, there's a man here, and it feels like it's on your father's side, 'cause it's right there. But I can see them, they're supportive, right? They're kind of just hanging out, kind of sometimes when I'm out. I used to do this, so I used to drink a lot when I first opened my mediumship. I was in MC club life and always out at the parties and events, and I couldn't hone it back then. I couldn't turn it off, especially once you drink alcohol, because it kind of removes your inhibitions, and it, like, you know, removes like that ego mind, right? So things can just flow through. So I remember, you know, I'd be at the bar and I'd be like, "Is your grandma blah blah blah," to some stranger, and be like, "You want to do a shot?" And then I made friends, right?
Although I do feel like I gotta keep looking over my shoulder.
And he's just kind of hanging out. He feels very caring, very loving. It's almost like he's got his hand on your shoulder. But
Okay.
he has your eyes. He has your eyes and like your statures, like. So yeah, so I used to go to the bars and do that, and then I learned to like turn it off when I'm out. Because now when I go out, I don't just walk up. I'm not Long Island medium, right? I'm not walking up and saying something.
Is that a show?
Someone doesn't want. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't either. But this lady's all over, and she just walks up to people and gives messages. So I don't do that. I feel like it's unethical.
Wild.
Yeah. Because you don't know where someone is in their stage of grief, right?
Yeah, but like this person here over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Why? Number one. So like, why are they hanging out and why aren't they wherever they're supposed to be when they pass?
Probably because when they come through, because I'm here, right? And a lot of times they're with you. So our loved ones are always like, there isn't like some other place they go. It's kind of like a different energetic state, right? So they're always around us. You can always call them in. Like I'll have sessions where people are like, I'm not getting any signs. I actually had one recently where a woman's daughter was murdered, 13 years ago. She hadn't felt anything. She wasn't getting any signs, and she hadn't had any emotion. She hasn't had any emotion or anything. She's just blocked. She comes to a session. I'm very laid back in my session, so I kind of make people feel comfortable first. I give them like some psychic information first, and make them feel comfortable, and then they kind of let go a little bit. They let go of their guard a little bit, and then boom, spirit can come through. So even if it's something they've blocked, and sometimes they come barreling through like the Kool-Aid Man right in the beginning. But
that I remember.
Yeah, they'll come busting through like the Kool-Aid Man. But so in that session, there's something about my sessions where I always ask spirit to give physical validation of what I'm saying is true. I want you to feel it when you're in a session with me, because I want this to heal you, right? Like I'm not healing you. I want to start your journey of healing that you do yourself. Yeah. So I want you to feel it, and once you feel it, there's no going back. Like once you feel, if you're in a deep state of grief and you feel their presence, then you haven't felt that in 13 years, especially in something so traumatic. She was able to let go. She was able to let go and feel for the first time, and she started getting signs right away. There was a point in the session where I was like, there's something about a flickering light, and then later on in the session, she asked me a question, and as I went to go answer her, and it was something about her daughter, the light started flickering, like there was no denying. It was like blinking on and off, and then immediately it was just like, I think we were both in tears at that point.
Is it all grief?
No, so I also have I do psychic sessions too, and my predictions are pretty damn accurate. But it's a snapshot of energy and time, right? So the trajectory you're on, everyone has free will. They can make choices and change their path, but what I see in a session is where you are at this point, where your life is headed as you are today. You can make changes, and especially if it involves the free will of others, it can change your path. But I do a lot of I give them tools. So I give them tools to remove toxicity from their life, tools to live a balanced life, tools to bring in spirit, spiritual practices into your everyday, because there's nothing wrong with meditation in the morning and centering yourself and getting in touch. We all have spirit guides, right? Everyone has spirit guides. So there's a lot of times what people think are guardian angels are actually your spirit guides. They're given to you at birth, and they're just on the other side of the ether, right? Like they're just like where your loved ones are. So you can talk to them, even if you don't know who they are. If you need comfort, and a lot of times, when people are calling to something, a lot of times their spirit guides are the ones that come in and help, because they're assigned us for guidance, but they won't help. They don't intervene in your free will, but they will help if you ask for help. And every time I'm lost, or every time I'm stuck in business, right? Like yesterday, a good example of this is I was like, I'm feeling stuck because I left my job in January. This is what I do full time now. I've been trying to build it. And I was like, I'm feeling stuck. Sales were slow. And because even though I'm doing a spiritual business, it's still a business, right?
Sure.
Still got to get out there. So we're still in the physical world. So I was asking, I need guidance. I pulled some tarot, which is like my comfort tool. I don't pull tarot in sessions, but it's almost like it's a way for me to connect to them, where they can give me answers. And I asked for guidance, and I went to go grab a notebook because I have journals all over my house. And I usually journal and dissect things. That's what I do. I create systems for people to make their life easier. So I dissect things, and that's how I teach. And I grabbed a journal, I started writing, and before I knew it, I had 4 courses written out to help people in their life and a mentorship program. And like by that afternoon, which that morning I didn't even have this information, right? By that afternoon, I had all that stuff laid out on my website, and now it's already selling and business is picking up again.
Well, I mean, I feel like you've got some high energy, so I can see that happening
obviously.
For sure. But like I was telling you, you know, I like ironically when you emailed me,
Yeah.
you know, I was literally having a conversation the night before with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to get somebody interesting. Not that who I've been talking to aren't interesting, but I
Right.
want to like change. I want to get some new people. I want to get people that I don't know.
Right.
You know, I'm kind of in a comfort zone on the podcast where I just pretty much talk to people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you reach out to me the next day. I'm like, well, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, that is wild. You know, I thought about it 2 months before that, and something told me to wait, just wait. And then that morning I woke up and you popped up in my feed, and I was like, it's time. So, message you, and here we are.
We're doing it. You know, I don't know. What do you do with all that information? What do you do with all the, you know, you see all these spirits, you talk to all these spirits. I mean, I don't know if emotionally I could handle that.
So, a good ethical medium will detach from emotion from these messages, right? Like, if I have emotional attachment to them, I can't hold space for someone, right? I still get emotional in sessions. I'll still have tears, or, you know, I'll get really excited for someone because I'm like everyone's biggest hype girl. But I am. I'm always pumping people up, like, do better in your life, right? But you have to have, like, an emotional attachment. And that's how you know. That's how I decipher my messages. If it's from mine, it's from my ego mind or my own brain, I'm attached to it, right? There's an emotional attachment. So for anyone out there who is trying to hone their intuitive skills, that's how you know the difference. If something comes from spirit, there will be no attachment to it. It's kind of like someone saying it and you're the observer, and you can't grab onto it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no attachment to it. It comes from your mind, you're going to have an attachment to the thought. But if it's a stream of consciousness, it's just like, it's just coming through, and it is what it is, you know? Does that make sense?
Sort of. I don't know. Have you ever had like somebody on your show that was like, I really want to, you know, hear from my father, and then you talk to the dad, and the dad's like, no, he still thinks you're a dickhead, you know?
You're still an asshole. No. No, so
it's always positive.
It's always I don't want to say it's all love and light, right? It's not always positive to the sitter. So the sitter doesn't always see it as positive. It's always neutral. So it's not positive or negative, it's neutral. So when they bring the information through and the way I deliver it, it's neutral. It is what it is. This is what it is, and you can choose how you want to feel about it, right? Because when they pass over, like, a lot of people are worried about their loved ones being mad at them once they pass over, or they're worried about their loved one, you know, making sure they do the right thing with their properties and stuff. And every session I've had, and I've had hundreds and hundreds, no one gives a shit. But, I mean, this is our ego brain that's attached to these things, right? Like, our human self and our human our personalities are made up a lot of times of, like, the way we were conditioned growing up, and, like, you know, the opinions of others, and the people that we respected and aspired. Yeah. Like, that is what our personality is. But if you remove all that, it just is, right? So when they transition, they don't have any of that. They're not in our bodies. They don't have our brains. They're not attached to anything. So they don't give a shit about their property or anything. They're really coming through to give messages, because it's all about the sitter. It's all about proving that their loved one isn't existing on the other side and fine, and also, you know, helping the sitter heal and move on with their life, because it's easy for us to get stuck in grief. We feel like we should, right? Yeah. A lot of times people get stuck in grief because we feel like that's how we should be. We should be sad that they're gone. Yeah. If we're not a good person, right? Whereas when these sessions come through, and here I stand up my arm, so Spirit's confirming that. When these sessions come through, it's kind of like releases that for people. They're able to be like, wow, you know what? You're right. I felt it, right? I can physically feel my loved ones here. They are telling me they're okay, and I can move on now. So then they start this healing journey. And I have people who have come to me for mediumship read to hear from their dad, for example, and they work with me for years and change their entire life. A lot of people when we're in grief, a lot of times we're not making the best decisions. We're not thinking from a clear space, where, you know, the people are into drugs and they're into all these self-sabotaging behaviors, because they're so stuck on that grief, you know, and it gives them excuses a lot of times. So, not saying they don't have a right to grieve, but a lot of times some people will extend grief because they hold on to it because it makes them feel better about their decisions, right, when they're making bad decisions. So it's like it's really healing to do this work. I think a lot of people don't realize that aspect of it, you know. They're thinking they're just going to get messages from their past loved ones, and they see a lot of fake psychics and mediums. There are a ton out there.
Dude, I was, because I've been excited about this podcast. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I want to
Same.
take a deep dive into this a little bit.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend this morning. I can't remember I'm going to use the air quotes here, medium's name, some dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old you are, but
46.
Okay, we're the same age, almost. This guy, man, I can't remember his name, but he got in trouble, and he was like super famous back in the day, and I'm talking like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And he would do these big shows on TV with these people in the crowd, and he'd be on stage. It was like watching Phil Donahue.
Right.
Totally just dated myself, but it was
I
like,
Phil.
he'd be up, and then like Lorrie would have a question or stand up and say, I'm missing my mom. My mom passed away, and he would know every single detail, like ridiculous. I mean, like, and these people were just losing their shit, crying. It was super emotional. Come to find out that he had like, trolls in the crowd. He was picking information from people, and it was mic'd in, so he would know. Oof. I can't remember his name. Somebody in the comments is going to let me know.
There are quite a few. I think sometimes when it gets to celebrity status, people lose their minds, right?
Yeah.
As with anyone else. And I think sometimes I've seen like bigger mediums, and the smallest thing can happen. Maybe it's not that, but maybe they think it's staged, or they fail in some area, or like a cold read, and people forget all of the healing they've done, and they only focus on that one situation. Not saying it's right? None of those stations, especially something like that, because that's faking. It's tricking people. That's why I don't want to know anything. When people come to my session, don't tell me a word. I don't want to know anything. And whoever, I don't even want you to tell me who doesn't, who you want to hear from. Like, I had a situation just 2 weeks ago. I had a session come in, and this woman didn't tell me who she wanted to hear from. Her grandmother came through. And so I'll say, don't tell me. But if they don't come through, 99% of the time, they're going to come through before this session ends, because you've already called them in, and they know you need healing. But there is some times where you want to hear from someone, and there's no reason for it. So I'll say, is there anyone you haven't heard from yet? Because sometimes I'll pull through 5 people in a session, and they'll say, I wanted to hear from this person. I'll say, what is their first name? Don't give me any information. And then it kind of lets me focus my energy, and I'll pull them through. I probably don't even need their name, but for some reason it clicks my brain, and then they come through. It's like calling up, But I had this woman come in. Her grandmother came through, and she didn't tell me who she wanted to hear from. And her grandmother showed me specific things that she collected and things that she gave to her to collect. And I told her, about these collections that they had together, the shared thing together. And she was like, wow, this is what I asked her to bring through. So even if you have a session with a medium, don't give them any information. It's so important. If they're ethical, right, and they're evidential, that is very important when you go see a psychic or a medium. You want evidence.
Yeah.
People can talk fluff, and it can bamboozle you. You know what I mean? If you're caught in the moment and you're so wanting to hear from grandma, they can bamboozle you with a lot of fluff, a lot of words, make you feel comfortable.
There's people out there that are good at that shit, mentalists
Salesmen.
and stuff like that, salesmen.
Yeah, they know how to do it. So make sure.
Push the right button and get the right information.
Make sure they're giving you specific evidence. And evidence means personality traits, mannerisms, things, memories that only you would know. That's not Google. You can't Google it.
That was the other thing I was going to say, because it seems like today it's so easy to be like, all right, I'm going to have a reading or with James, but I'm going to go online real quick and Google and just go down and just feed in all that information, and then come to the table like everything about me.
Right. There probably are some that do that. That's why I always try to bring through mannerisms. Mannerisms you can't get on Facebook. Memories that you had as a child. Specific photos that you have that may be in a frame, and I'll tell you what the location is, of what the photo looks like. I had a woman who I kept saying, I see you in a pale dress, and he's wearing a suit, and you're sitting on his lap, and she's like, I don't wear dresses. And I'm like, it feels like an old photo.
Feels like a baptism.
Yeah, right. And she she said, I don't remember. And I always say in a session, hold on to that. If you don't know what I'm saying, you don't recognize this person, hold on to it. Sometimes we're so focused on one thing that we want to come through, so we're forgetting everything else. Usually 99.9% of the time, they reach out to me after, and she did, and said, I found this photo and sent it to me. She's like, this was an old photo of him. I forgot I had it. Boom. She was wearing a pale pink dress, and he was wearing that suit, and she was sitting on his lap. So I try to do things like that, right, where I want you to leave knowing that I didn't Google anything. I didn't look him up on Facebook. There's nothing I could find that would tell me this information. So my goal is to give you consistent evidence, so when you leave, there, you can't say, well, she could have got this from,
Yeah. I should have asked questions before to people out there to bring to the table with you today. But you ever seen the movie Ghost?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like this, do you have like spirits come into you, and like you remember that scene where Whoopi Goldberg gets?
Yeah, where she takes over. Yeah, that's not real life, but I'm glad that doesn't. So there is trans mediumship, and I do work toward trans mediumship. I do that sometimes where, like I have a trans mentor. He's in Australia, and he completely. It's kind of like they think people who don't understand it think someone's taking over, right? But they're not taking over. And Whoopi Goldberg is a good example of why people think that way. But it's actually a mind overlap. So you're just like, it's kind of like they're overlapping. And like you're taking in this stream of information from them. It's an energy, but it's like you're fully embodying them. You know what I mean? So it's like he's not there. You're there. You're kind of off to the side. You're kind of like, you can remember what's going on, but it feels like you're kind of distant observer. And then you come out of it when it's time. And so they don't take over, and I think some people think like, they'll hear about mediums or psychics and think we're being possessed, right? But I've actually, I have never had anything like dark and I've done hundreds and hundreds of reads, and I know a lot of really legit ethical mediums that I respect their work, who also say the same things. I think a lot of times, and this is why I say, your internal work, when you're a psychic or medium, you have a responsibility to be ethical to people. It's so important that you are working on yourself. It's so important that you are working to remove judgments and biases. Because if a medium is telling you you have a dark entity attached, or they see a darkness in you, or doom and gloom, right? They're usually a negative person. They have something going on in their life, and they are projecting they're projecting what they see, their perspective of life, right, onto the sitter, because their energy is coming through, but they're putting this filter over the lens, right? So they have this filter of their own life. I always say my sessions are only as good as the work I've done on myself, which means to remove judgments and biases. And do I have preferences in my own personal life? Yes. But when I go into a session, there are no judgments, there are no biases, there's nothing, everything is neutral. And that's why it's so important to like dig into the depths of your soul when you're doing this work and pull out anything, any toxicity, any negativity about yourself, and heal from your past to be able to deliver, ethical mediumship.
Positive energy.
Yes.
So what about like, there's just so many things I just want to get.
I know, this could be like 10 podcasts, honestly.
That's fine. Seances? Is that real?
Yeah, people do seances where a bunch of people get in and use everyone. So I always explain to people, and it's on my website, that a session it involves the triad. It involves the spirit of energy, or the energy of spirit. It involves the energy of the sitter, and it involves the energy of the medium. So we need all those things flowing to give a good session. So that's why when you come in, if someone comes in and they got their arms crossed and they're trying to prove me wrong, right?
Right.
They're gonna have a shitty session, and that's on you, bro. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be open. You gotta have a clear mind.
You gotta be just as open as you are.
Yeah, and maybe not as open as I am, but you have to just be like, I'm open to see whatever comes through, right? You got to be, and there are skeptics that come to me, and I always prove them wrong. But they're skeptics, but there's something about me. I'm very authentic. I honestly give no fucks what people think about me. I don't care. Done the work, right? So, sure. I'm open to skeptics. I don't care. So people feel that authenticity in me, and I mean, I've just given you all these things that explain how I work, right? And I walk the walk. I make sure every day I'm doing something to clear any energy or get rid of toxicity. I'm consistently assessing my life and seeing what needs to move, what needs to be removed, what do I need to add in, because this is my life. Like this, my goal is to live a life of service to others. That's what I want to do, and all I do is live a life of service to others. I'm working on death doula-ship.
What's that?
So we're going off on a tangent now, but
That's okay.
So let's go. So death dualship is about where I want to give people, everyone deserves a peaceful transition to the afterlife. So you set up vigils for them, like quiet environments, dim lights, candles, like if they allow, or flameless candles, and you help this person transition in peace. And it's really important for people who don't have anybody when they pass. So I want to volunteer at hospice, which is
because that's probably
you can volunteer to be like vigil bedsides and sit with people and help them transition peacefully, which kind of goes with my line of work as being a medium anyway. But it's also my way of giving back, and that's actually why I left my full-time job and is just building this, because I want more time to volunteer, because I do want to live life service to others in ways that involve things I'm passionate about, like mediumship and death dualship. It's kind of like a birth dual, right? Same thing. Birth duals help bring peaceful birth, and death doulas help people transition to the afterlife for the cycle to begin again.
So when you talk to spirits, am I saying them as a spirit?
Yeah, I would just call it spirit, because it could be spirit guides, it could be a past loved one, it could be angels.
And you said it's just like a transfer of energy. Like, but where are they? I mean, is it just like in some like?
I always call it like an awareness, right? So one thing I always tell people, they're always worried about people, and this is a very important message for everyone to hear, that if your loved one died of a drug overdose, or if they died of suicide, I've had all those people come through, and they're all in the same spot. No one is in purgatory. They're all in the same spot. They're all in the afterlife. It's like, and I always think of it as an awareness. So they're all around us, right? Because energy is everywhere. Energy is like ever flowing. It's infinite. So energy is everywhere. So that's why when you call them in, and also spirits are never stuck. So when you call them in, it's like, they're like there, because they're always there. It's just energy, right? So it's like an awareness. As soon as you make an awareness to it, boom.
So what are they doing?
They're kind of hanging out.
Are they drinking margaritas someplace?
So I always say, like, I feel like it's I feel like because it's energy and it's ever flowing, it's kind of like, it's more for the sitter, right? So it's like they bring awareness and remind you of things that they did in that lifetime.
Yeah.
For the sitter. So I don't think they're like up there working afterlife jobs or anything, right? But I think it's just like a stream of energy, and then they come in. It's like comes in as the energy you remember them, that form, because there are multiple lives. Like I've seen past lives, and in multiple lives I've seen.
I was fucking freaky. I was just gonna say that. So you believe in reincarnation, or you can. So like, what are your thoughts on that? Can you like go forward and backwards? Because I've had this conversation. Like, wouldn't it be rad? Like, if my next life, I was in the Wild West. But
yeah, we'll see. What I've found from spirit information that I've brought through is like we're living all these lives simultaneously, right? It's not parallel, and we can't. It's
the multiverse.
Yeah, we imagine it as this life, but we can be living all different, because it's just all energy, and there is no time and space in the infinite. So I have had sessions where someone wanted to hear from their father, and I was giving her messages, and I was like, something about your son has the same mannerisms, looks like him, and he's telling you that part of his energy, because not all of us is here in this body. Our energy is existent everywhere else, right? This is just like, it's just contained here as a form, right? So I explained to her that her father was reincarnated as her son, and she started bawling, because she's like, we knew it, my son will go sit at my dad's gravesite, and he doesn't want to leave, he's just sitting there, and he looks like him, he acts like him. So
wild.
Yeah. Have you gotten goosebumps at all, or chills at all during this conversation at all?
No.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Are you pretty closed off?
You can do a reading.
I would be good.
Yeah, I do a pretty good job of like just packing it all in.
Yeah, you do. You don't deal with your emotions.
My wife will say
That's for another podcast.
What's the wildest reading you've ever done?
Wildest. Gosh, I've had a lot, so let's see. I had a woman ask if she could grow her kidney back that was removed. So this is also the damage of ones that don't do their work, right? This is the damage of going to someone that when you're an ethical medium, you're doing a lot of cleanup.
Sure.
So there are people who are woo-woo, right? All this spirituality stuff where, and I am spiritual, I call myself spiritual, but new age spirituality, which can be dangerous because, they think we're reptilian and, there's dark entities, and they think that if you can just thank your kidney, it'll be back. So people are teaching these people things, and then...
Yeah, I've heard of shit like that, like where you just meditate like you're like an organ to heal, or...
Yeah, and
I don't know if it's like cancer, for example. I've heard of like, the using your mind to heal yourself. I don't know if that's all snake oil. I mean, I think that there's a little bit of... To
an extent.
Yeah.
I think to an extent. Like, I do believe, obviously, if you're... This is what I always tell people. If you're thinking positive, right?
Yeah.
You're waking up in the morning, you're thinking positive thoughts, you're doing affirmations, saying, I am this, I am that, I am this. Your brain is going to start to believe it, right? Your brain, our subconscious believes what we tell it. And, or we're running on autopilot, which we can get into that too, some inner child healing. So I think to a certain extent, you're gonna have a good day because you're not looking for the negative. Your brain is like focused. I am this. I am that. Today's gonna be a good day, right? So you're focused on the good. Obviously, you're gonna have a good day. Do I think energy healing can help someone in illness, like bring clarity or at least calm their body? Yeah. Do I think that it's gonna cure cancer? No. But I do trance energy healing sessions where it's kind of like a shamanic journey. I go to like an altered state of consciousness and meet this medicine man there. He looks like a medicine man to me. And we do healing on people. He goes through, talks about past life events. It's about emotional healing. That has had a physical effect on some people, which I'm shocked as shit too. But I don't really...
do that through meditation.
Yeah, I go and do... So I play... drum beats, shamanic drum beats, and it puts me into this trance, and I'm in an altered state of consciousness and do all this healing on them, and a lot of really cool... You'll have to check out the reviews on my site on that one. The reviews are really cool, not what I expected. I went to Sedona, came back with some clarity, and just started doing the sessions, and they've been amazing. People have been getting guidance. It has helped people with small physical ailments. Do I know if it's just a mindset, right? Do I know that they're hoping it's going to heal and it feels better? Because a lot of times emotional pain, right? Emotional past traumas can come out in physical pain. And I feel like, we're doing that because if you're thinking negative and you have this pain, emotional pain, and you're going to see the negative, you can think your knee's going to hurt, and sometimes it's going to draw attention to your knee, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think it has some effects, but do I think it's the end-all be-all to healing, especially with cancers and stuff? No. And do I think you can grow your kidney back? Probably not.
I don't think you can.
I mean, do I know everything? No. I don't pretend to know everything. I just kind of speak from my experience. But I did tell the woman that I did not believe that she could grow a kidney back. And she stopped coming to me. So we weren't a good fit.
She's looking for somebody to tell her that you can.
Yeah, some people just want to hear what they want to say. And that's the thing about me is I'm honest. I'm a straight shooter. But I do it in a loving way in sessions. If you know me personally, I'm not the most loving way when I'm giving information. I'm kind of like... direct, not in a rude way. Sometimes I just say things, they just comes here and comes out. But in sessions, I maybe because I'm in that altered state and I'm like in peace, in a state of peace, I bring through messages honest and direct, but with kindness and compassion and love.
So you ever just like hanging out in your house and bring in the spirit guides and like have conversations? Yeah.
So lately it hasn't happened, but there are times where I'll feel something. I live in an old house. I live over in Maxwelltown. So my house is built in like 1900, and I don't think some people are always attached to a house, right? I do feel a male energy sometimes in there, a lot, that's often. But sometimes I'll be, doing dishes, and then I'll feel something, and I'll just say, I'm not working right now. Which sounds weird. It sounds crazy, but
That's
it
so
works.
Fresh. They're just there. I mean, I'd be like, man, where's the privacy?
Right, yeah, right.
Like, what about here in this building? This building is built in the 1800s.
Yeah, and I don't think things are always attached to buildings, but I do believe that there can be remnants of energy of that existed here in the past, right? And sometimes that's like a loop of energy where they're kind of just like hanging out. It's like a remnant of energy. But yeah, I don't feel anything other than this man that's been chilling with you.
All right, we got to do it. We got to talk about this.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Chapo's Northside Bar, voted best burger and wings in town. Yeah, you heard that right. If you're going to go out for a burger or wings or both, you might as well go to the place that's voted the best. The best. Why wouldn't you have anything less? Look, and if you're not down for a burger or wings, that's cool. They've got salads, wraps, and sandwiches also. And this summer, it's going to get wild because on June 24th, it kicks off their summer concert series in the parking lot. Live music, folks. And guess what? It's free. Yeah. Come down for the music, stay for the fun, enjoy the best burger and wings in town. Chapo's Northside Bar.
The whole thing out? Because there's something blocking me with you. There's something that isn't coming through with you that you're holding back. And I feel like if we had a private session, I want to do this just to give it to you because I feel like you need this. And it's good. So you're probably going to want to edit this out, but I feel like you need this healing. This never happens, unless someone is holding something in like a boulder, and that's how I feel in your chest, that they're not realizing they need to let out. And I'm covered in chills. Have you gotten chills at all?
No.
That also shows that there's something blocking because my hair is standing up. And people always get chills, goosebumps when I'm giving messages that are validation of truth from spirit. Like, you should be you should be feeling something. So there's something repressed in you. So let's do a private session so if we can pull it out.
Do you want to do it right now?
Yeah, you want to? Go, are you feeling it? You're feeling something. I can tell you're feeling something.
Well, I want to.
Yeah, you want to do it right now?
I want it on camera, but because I want people to see how you work. But
I know I don't feel like it's going to work on camera, but we can do it after the podcast. We can sit after we're done talking about this stuff. We can sit because I don't think we should do it before. It's going to totally interrupt the podcast. I feel like it's going to be emotional. I feel like.
You think it's going to be emotional? Mm-hmm. What else do you want to talk about before we end it? Talk about where people can find you. Talk about your website. Talk about everything else you do besides being a medium, like with the candles, stuff like that.
Okay.
We'll get it all out there, and I'll make sure to put all that information in the show notes too, so that'll be on everywhere that this podcast goes.
Okay, cool. So I call myself the Intuitive Owl. Like I said, I planned on being on the road, right? And Spirit gave me that name in my sleep one day. And I woke up and that was my name. And I actually thought it was going to be a travel channel because I planned on traveling. And it wasn't. I just started seeing visions of me making candles, and I kept denying it. I'm going on the road. I'm going on my road when she graduates. And then that didn't happen. My daughter-in-law called and said, I think you should make candles, which was my validation. I jumped in and started making candles, and it took off. So I'm the Intuitive Owl. You can find me at theintuitiveowl.com. I do soy 100% organic candles with vegan approved fragrance oils. They're decorated with crystals and flowers and herbs. I make a Lake Michigan sunset candle, which is what I gave you. I gave you 2 of those. I do sessions to bring your past loved ones through. I can tell you what's coming up for you, give you clarity in your life. I do a mentorship where I teach other people to use their intuition, live an easier, more balanced life. I have some courses that are coming up. One is like how to spot toxic people ahead of time. If you're getting stuck in toxic relationships or you attract toxic people, how to spot them, how to deal with them, and how to make changes in yourself so you don't continue to bring those people in your life. And then I do one for inner child healing, which is really deep. So a lot of times we have inner child issues that we don't know we're there because we feel like we have a great childhood or we have great parents, but there's something in us, there's still that little kid in us that maybe didn't be seen, didn't have a voice, or sometimes it is extreme cases of neglect. And so I help people dig in and kind of essentially parent themselves as an inner child. It's like a technique I do, and just teach them to deal with that pain. And we don't realize how much our childhoods affect every area of our life. And if you do have inner child issues, which is kind of like your memories of a child or the way you see yourself growing up, that can cause havoc in our relationships, our self-worth, our self-esteem, the work we do, the decisions we make. So I help people kind of take all that garbage out. I've had clients who came to me who were doing drugs, and I had one that wasn't with his family. His wife left him, and he started working with me, and within 6 months he was in a job, he wasn't doing drugs, he was back with his family, and he's still back with his family, and that was 4 years ago. I have a woman who was stuck in toxic relationships, one after the other. Did inner child healing, was all tied back to episodes in childhood. She is now happily married, and it's we don't realize how much it affects. So my goal is to help people live a better life and get healing from grief. And
yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah,
I think everybody needs to just do that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, work
just
on yourselves. if you think about, I used to live in a lot of negativity, and if you think about the changes, you know, the opportunities you can have in life and the perspective of just
Right.
being at complete peace, it's unmatched. There isn't a dollar sign you could put on it to be completely at peace and live a peaceful life. It just
It
changes
seems
everything.
so like, I don't know what the word is, you know, to say just, you know, be positive.
Right.
But I mean, it's better than being a shithead, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it
better
is.
than being like all down Eeyore all the time.
Yeah, it is.
You can like just figure out a way to flip the switch.
Mm-hmm.
Life is so much easier.
It really is. And I feel like not only just flipping the switch, because sometimes we slap a Band-Aid of positivity on it,
Yeah,
and they're
I do.
acting that way, right? But then they're like dying inside. I mean, I used to be one of them. And then until I started digging into the depths of my soul and pulling all that stuff out and healing, and now I teach others to do the same. And now my life is so peaceful. I have zero drama. I have zero toxicity. And I'm just like coasting. My life has improved so much since just digging all that out, because our subconscious is running on loop. So every event, everything that's happened to us through childhood, from birth all the way up, our subconscious has soaked that in, and it's got us on autopilot, you know? So you got to like tap into your subconscious, which is what I do with people, help them inner child healing. Tap into your subconscious, change those programs. So you're not just saying it, you're feeling it, you know?
So rad.
Yeah, I love it. It's great work. You can tell I'm passionate about it. I love it.
We got to do this again.
Yeah, we can do. There's so many episodes we can do on different things, for sure.
We're going to do it.
Yeah,
We're going to do
we
a
can do it a
bunch.
series. It's awesome.
Now, let's do a reading.
Okay,